So, you follow all the rules. You try to be charming, you work hard to be successful. You swipe right, you go on dates, you send the perfect follow-up text. And what do you get in return? Confusion. Ghosting. You get overlooked for guys who seem to have way less to offer. You're left wondering what secret you're missing. What game is being played that you were never taught the rules to? It's a constant grinding frustration, and it leaves most men believing the answer is to just try harder. Get richer, get funnier, get a sharper jawline. But what if the game you're trying so desperately to win is the wrong game entirely? What if attraction isn't about conscious choices, but about deep subconscious psychological triggers? When I say weaknesses, I'm not talking about flaws you can exploit. That's the path of a manipulator, and it only leads to empty victories. It's about building an unshakable core of self-mastery, rooted in the ancient philosophy of Stoicism. It's about becoming the man you were always meant to be. Calm, confident, and completely in control of your own inner world. And when you get that right, you'll find that attraction is no longer something you have to chase. It just becomes a natural byproduct of who you are. The truth is, attraction is a complex dance of biology, psychology, and culture. Today, we're exploring the 10 hidden psychological drivers that, once you understand and master them with Stoic self-control, will change the way you see yourself, and in turn, how the world sees you. The first and most foundational driver is the deep-seated need for emotional certainty. In a world filled with chaos, there is a profound attraction to stability. Many women are drawn to a man who is a rock, an anchor in the emotional storms of life. Research consistently shows that traits like emotional stability and dependability are highly valued in long-term partners across all cultures. A man who is calm, predictable, and reliable provides a sense of safety that is incredibly compelling. The average guy gets this completely backward. He mistakes emotional certainty for being a pushover. He thinks that by never challenging her, by always saying yes, by becoming a people pleaser, he's providing that stability. He becomes emotionally volatile. His mood swings depending entirely on whether he has her approval. He's not a rock, he's a leaf in the wind, and that creates a deep sense of unease. The Stoic approach is the antidote. Stoicism teaches, above all else, a dichotomy of control. You can't control her feelings, her moods, or her reactions. You can only control your own. A Stoic man doesn't get rattled by what's happening around him because his peace comes from within. To apply this, start a daily practice of reflection. You become the safe harbor. You provide that point of certainty not by being a yes man, but by being a man in command of himself. This emotional self-regulation, this inner calm, isn't a performance. It's the genuine result of a disciplined mind. And it's profoundly attractive because it signals you're a man who can handle the pressures of life. The second powerful driver is the principle of scarcity. It's a basic rule of human psychology. We put a higher value on things that are rare or hard to get. This doesn't just apply to fancy watches. It applies to people. When someone's time and attention seem scarce, they often become more desirable. This isn't about playing manipulative games. It's about a deep-seated trigger connected to perceived value. The person whose attention isn't given away freely is seen as having more value. Most men, especially when they're really interested in a woman, do the exact opposite. They make themselves infinitely available. They text back in 2 seconds. They'll drop all their plans at a moment's notice. They shower her with attention, hoping their constant presence will win her over. But what they're subconsciously signaling isn't high interest, it's low value. They are the 24/7 Steiner. Always open, always there. There's no urgency, no challenge, no sense of prize. While this might seem nice, it often kills the thrill of the chase and suffocates desire before it has a chance to grow. The Stoic master doesn't play hard to get. The asterisk is asterisk hard to get. That distinction is everything. Playing hard to get is a tactic. Being hard to get is a result of his lifestyle. The Stoic man prioritizes his purpose, his mission, and his own time above all else. His life is already full and meaningful asterisk without asterisk a romantic partner. He doesn't get his self-worth from a romantic partner. He doesn't get his self-worth from her, so he doesn't feel that desperate need to be available 24/7. His time is genuinely scarce because it's dedicated to his work, his self-improvement, his principles. To live this, you must have something in your life that is more important than chasing a girl. Define your mission. What are you building? What are you trying to achieve? Pour your energy into that. Don't be afraid to say, I can't then, but I'm free this other time. It's not a line, it's the truth. Give her space. By stepping back sometimes, you allow her curiosity and desire to build. You're not creating artificial scarcity. You're demonstrating authentic scarcity that comes from a life of purpose. This signals you're a high-value man who has to be won over, not someone just waiting to give his time away. The third psychological driver is the attraction to a powerful, grounded presence. This isn't about being the biggest or loudest guy in the room. It's about projecting a quiet, centered confidence through your voice and your body language. A deep, calm voice, steady eye contact, and deliberate, unhurried movements are massive nonverbal signals of self-mastery. They tell the world you're in control of yourself and your surroundings. In a world of anxious, hurried energy, a man with a strong, grounded presence stands out. It signals competence and stability, which are always attractive. The common mistake here is to confuse a strong presence with being aggressive. A lot of men try to overcompensate for insecurity by talking too loudly, using exaggerated gestures, or trying to intimidate people. They puff out their chests and try to dominate conversations, thinking this is what an alpha does. But everyone can see this for what it is, a fragile ego. It's reactive, not confident. It doesn't create a feeling of safety, it creates unease and shows a total lack of real inner strength. A man who needs to be loud is a man who's afraid he won't be heard. The Stoic builds his presence from the inside out. It's not an act, it's the physical result of a disciplined mind. You practice mindful posture, standing straight, shoulders back, not with arrogance, but with self-respect. You make steady, respectful eye contact, showing you're engaged and unafraid. You move with deliberation, not with jerky, nervous energy. And your voice becomes your most powerful tool. Instead of talking fast to fill every gap of silence, you speak calmly and slowly. You use pauses. This gives your words more weight and shows you're comfortable in the silence. It screams confidence. It implies you aren't desperate for approval and you believe what you're saying is worth hearing. A great way to practice this is to record yourself talking. Listen to your pace and pitch. Practice speaking from your diaphragm to develop a deeper, more resonant tone. You're not faking a voice. You're finding the calm, powerful voice you already have when you strip away the anxiety. The fourth and maybe the most powerful psychological driver is the fear of loss. There's a principle called loss aversion, which basically says that the pain of losing something feels twice as bad as the pleasure of gaining that same thing. In relationships, this means the fear of losing a high-value partner can be a much stronger motivator than the initial excitement of getting them. When a woman sees a man as a catch, a man of purpose and confidence, the thought of losing him becomes a powerful force that deepens her investment. This is where most men make a catastrophic mistake. Driven by their own fear of losing her, they do everything they can to make sure that never happens. They get clingy. They seek constant reassurance. They text and call nonstop. They make it painfully clear that they would never what. And by doing that, they completely remove the fear of loss. This kills all the tension, all the stakes, and usually all the attraction. By trying so hard not to lose her, they make themselves incredibly easy to lose because there's no perceived value at risk. The Stoic, by his very nature, holds on to the power of loss because he is genuinely willing to walk away. This isn't a threat he makes. It's just a fundamental part of his character. The Stoic's self-worth comes from inside. It isn't dependent on any one person. He mentally prepares for potential losses, including the end of a relationship. This doesn't make him cold. It makes him resilient and non-attached. He can love deeply but understands that nothing external is permanent. His willingness to walk away comes from a place of deep self-respect. He has standards for how he expects to be treated, and he holds those boundaries. If a relationship becomes unhealthy or disrespectful, he will leave. Not out of anger, but out of a calm commitment to his own well-being. This creates a powerful, unspoken fear of loss. The woman understands on a gut level that his presence in her life isn't a guarantee. It's conditional on mutual respect. And that makes his presence all the more valuable. He isn't desperate for her approval. He's confident in his own path. And that self-possession makes him a prize she's motivated to keep. The fifth psychological driver is the deep attraction to a man with a clear and compelling purpose. A man who is on a mission, who has a direction in life, is inherently magnetic. His mission is the source of his energy and discipline. It gives his life meaning. Women aren't just attracted to the mission itself, but to what that mission says about the man. It shows ambition, intelligence, and the ability to work for a long-term goal. His life is about more than just seeking comfort. It's about creating and building something. That sense of purpose is a powerful signal of his character and potential. The average man usually makes one of two mistakes here. The first is having no mission at all. His life is just something that happens to him. He works a job he hates, comes home, watches Netflix, and repeats. There's no driving force. The second mistake, and honestly the more damaging one in dating, is making the woman his mission. He drops his hobbies, his goals, and his friends to just orbit around her. His only purpose becomes making her happy. He thinks this is romantic, but what it really does is place a huge burden on her to be the source of his entire life's meaning. It suffocates attraction because he's abandoned the very things that made him an interesting, dynamic person to begin with. Stoicism, at its core, is a philosophy built on purpose. For the modern man, this means figuring out your core values and building a life mission around them. This mission becomes your North Star. It guides all your decisions. A romantic partner, then, isn't the destination. She's an amazing companion who you invite to join you on your journey. To make this real, you have to do the hard work of looking inward. What matters to you more than anything? What impact do you want to have? Write it down. Create a mission statement for your life. Then start aligning your actions with that mission. Prioritize it. When you have a strong purpose, you stop looking for validation from other people, because you get all the validation you need from the progress you make on your own path. You become the hero of your own story. And there's nothing more attractive than a man who is passionately writing his own life. She doesn't complete you. She joins you. That's the dynamic that creates not just attraction, but deep, lasting respect. The sixth psychological driver is the powerful and often misunderstood idea of controlled vulnerability. Real strength isn't about being an impenetrable fortress that never shows emotion. It's about having the self-control to share your authentic self wisely. Controlled vulnerability means sharing a struggle or a past hardship, but only after you've already processed it and learned from it. It signals self-awareness, resilience, and emotional intelligence, all cornerstones of a healthy, attractive relationship. The first is the emotional fortress. This guy thinks any admission of struggle is weakness. He bottles everything up and acts like a robot. This prevents any real emotional connection from ever forming, leaving his partner feeling completely shut out. The second trap is the opposite. The emotional dump truck. This guy uses vulnerability as a tactic to get sympathy. He overshares all his current anxieties and problems, basically making his partner his therapist. This doesn't project strength. It projects neediness and a lack of self-control, which is draining and a huge turnoff. The Stoic approach provides the perfect middle path. Stoicism isn't about suppressing emotions. It's about understanding them with logic. A Stoic doesn't deny his struggles. He confronts them, learns from them, and makes them a part of his character. But notice the framing. It's always in the past tense. To apply this, think of your past challenges as chapters in your hero's journey. You're being authentic in a way that builds respect, not drains it. For example, instead of saying, "I'm so stressed and insecure about my job right now," you might later say, "There was a time in my career where I faced a ton of pressure and self-doubt. Learning to navigate that taught me how important it is to trust my own judgment." The first is a burden. The second is a testament to your character. If this breakdown of psychology and ancient philosophy is hitting home, if you're ready to stop the frustrating guesswork of modern dating and start building an unshakable foundation of self-mastery, then take a second to subscribe and hit that notification bell. The seventh dynamic is the controversial but very real phenomenon of testing. Look, this isn't always a conscious or manipulative thing. These tests can show up as playful teases, challenges to his opinion, or little moments of drama, all designed to see how he'll react. Is he going to get defensive? Is he going to fold and agree with everything? Or will he stay calm, centered, and hold his ground with a bit of humor? The vast majority of men fail these tests because they don't even see them happening. When they get challenged, they react emotionally. If she teases him, he gets insecure. If she questions his decision, he either gets angry or immediately backs down to please her. This jumpiness signals that his confidence is fragile and depends on her approval, which is the exact opposite of the strength she's subconsciously looking for. A Stoic passes these tests without even trying. because his whole philosophy is training for this exact moment. A Stoic knows he can't control what other people say or do. He can only control his response. He sees a challenge not as a threat, but as a chance to show his character, specifically his calm and his courage. For example, if she says, "You really think that shirt looks good?" the reactive guy might get defensive and say, "What's wrong with it? I like it." The Stoic man, on the other hand, might just smile and say, "Absolutely. It takes a special kind of confidence to pull this off," and then change the subject. He doesn't need her approval, and he doesn't get defensive. He playfully bats away the test and shows that his confidence is solid. He maintains his own frame, not out of stubbornness, but because it's rooted in his own values. By responding with composed strength, he proves he's a man who won't crumble under a little pressure. The eighth driver, and a true test of a man's inner worth, is how he handles rejection. Rejection is a non-negotiable part of dating and in life. A man's reaction to being turned down is a huge tell, and it reveals everything about his self-esteem. A woman is subconsciously paying close attention to this because it tells her where his confidence really comes from. Is it internal and real, or is it a fragile act that depends on her saying yes? The average guy handles rejection terribly. He takes it personally, seeing it as a final judgment on his worth as a human being. His reaction usually falls into a few camps. He might get angry and start insulting her. He might get desperate and start pleading or trying to argue her into changing her mind. Or he might just slink away with his ego completely crushed. All of these reactions scream the same thing. I needed your approval to feel good about myself, and now that you've taken it away, my world is falling apart. It just confirms that his confidence was never real to begin with. The Stoic approach to rejection is completely different and way more powerful. The Stoic embraces whatever happens, seeing everything as an opportunity. He understands the dichotomy of control. Her decision to reject him is completely outside of his control. The only thing he can control is his response. He sees rejection not as a judgment of his worth, but simply as new information. The information is, we're not a match. That's all. His response, therefore, is one of calm indifference, maybe even with a touch of humor. He might smile and say, "All right, fair enough. I appreciate the honesty. Have a great night." There's no anger, no begging. There's no anger, no begging. No sign of a bruised ego. Why? Because his self-worth was never on the table. It's internal, it's unshakable, and it's not up for debate. This response is disarmingly attractive. It communicates on a deep level that he is a man of immense inner security. He doesn't need her, or anyone else, to validate him. Immense inner security. He doesn't need her. He doesn't need her, or anyone else, to validate him. He's already whole on his own. By being unfazed by rejection, he ironically becomes the kind of man who is far more difficult to reject in the future, because his value is so obvious. The ninth psychological driver is the magnetic power of mystery. In the early stages of dating, and even later on, a little bit of unpredictability is a key ingredient for attraction. When a guy is a total open book from day one, laying out all his thoughts, feelings, and his entire life story, the sense of discovery dies. Humans are drawn to puzzles. A man who is a little hard to read, who has a certain air of self-possession and doesn't show all his cards at once, sparks curiosity and intrigue. It makes a woman invest more mental energy trying to figure him out, which in turn deepens her attraction. This is a principle that most nice guys get totally wrong. In an effort to build a connection and show how interested they are, they overshare. On the first date, they'll unload their entire life story, their deepest insecurities, their hopes, their dreams, and a play-by-play of their feelings about the date itself. They send long, detailed texts that leave zero room for interpretation. They are so desperate to be understood that they eliminate all mystery. They become predictable. And predictability, while it can be comfortable, and predictability, while it can be comfortable, is often the enemy of passion. The Stoic master is naturally hard to read, not as a trick, but as a byproduct of his philosophy. A Stoic values thoughtful communication. He doesn't talk just to fill silence. He speaks when he has something to say. He's the master of his own inner world, and he doesn't feel the need to broadcast his every thought and emotion. His focus is on being present and authentic, not on putting on a performance. He lets his character reveal itself through his actions over time, not in a flood of words. He maintains an air of unpredictability because his emotional state isn't tied to what's happening around him. She can't read him easily because he isn't reacting in the predictable way she might be used to. This isn't about being deceptive or cold. It's about self-possession. He has a rich inner life that is his own, and he grants access to it slowly. This measured approach creates a lasting sense of intrigue. She's always left wondering a little bit more about him, and this slow burn of discovery is what keeps the spark alive long after the first date. The 10th and final driver is the raw, attractive power of self-discipline. A man who has mastery over his own desires, his appetites, his impulses, his emotions, has a strength that is both rare and incredibly compelling. Self-control is the foundational virtue of a Stoic and signals on a primal level that a man can delay gratification, overcome challenges, and build a life that matters. In a world that pushes instant gratification, a man who is the master of his own domain stands apart. This discipline shows up in every area of his life, from his fitness to his career, making him a reliable and admirable person. So many men today are slaves to their desires. They live for the next dopamine hit, whether it's from junk food, endless social media scrolling, or the validation of a text message from a girl. They chase pleasure and run from discomfort. In dating, this shows up as a total lack of restraint. He might be overly eager to get physical, push for commitment way too fast, or be unable to control his temper when he doesn't get what he wants. This lack of self-discipline signals a weak character. A man led by his impulses instead of his principles signals a weak character. A man led by his impulses instead of his principles. It suggests he can't be trusted to make the hard choices when it really counts. The Stoic path is one of relentless self-discipline. The ancient Stoics would practice voluntary hardship, like fasting or taking cold baths, to train their minds to be tougher than their circumstances. For the modern man, this means practicing delayed gratification in all parts of your life. It means choosing the gym over the couch. The healthy meal is choosing the gym over the couch. The healthy meal over the junk food, the hard work over the easy distraction. This internal discipline naturally spills over into his relationships. He sets high standards for himself and for the people he lets into his life. He isn't desperate or needy because his happiness doesn't depend on satisfying every single impulse. He has control over his desires. And because of that, other people don't have control over him. He doesn't need to chase because he's busy with the hard, daily work of mastering himself. This creates an aura of immense strength. Women aren't attracted to the self-denial itself, but to the powerful character that it builds. A man who has conquered himself is a man who can be a true partner in conquering the challenges of life together. As we've gone through these 10 psychological drivers, a single powerful truth comes into focus. The path to becoming more attractive isn't about learning tricks or manipulation. It's an internal journey of building character. It's about shifting your sense of control from the outside world to your own mind. It's about building a foundation of self-respect so solid that you no longer need anyone else's approval to feel whole. The Stoic understands that qualities like emotional certainty, a strong presence, resilience, and a life driven by purpose aren't tactics you use on a date. They are the natural results of a disciplined and principled life. This isn't a quick fix. It's a fundamental shift in your operating system. From a man who reacts to the world to a man who creates his own. When you focus on mastering yourself, on conquering your own impulses, and dedicating your life to a mission, attraction stops being a goal you have to chase. It becomes the inevitable side effect of the high-value man you have become. Stop trying to learn the lines and start building the character. Stop focusing on how to get yourself, focusing on how to get yourself. The ancient Stoics gave us the blueprint over 2,000 years ago, and it's more relevant today than ever. Master yourself, and the rest will follow.